What is up? Welcome back. 2023-2024 NBA season previews. My name is Matt Hanifan. I'm here with Jiarmani Depena. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. It's still crazy to me because you live on the West Coast. I'm looking outside my window, pitch black outside. You still got the sun like nice and bright shining through your window. So it's always cool to think about just how far this company really reaches in terms of just guys who work here. No, but yeah, all good. Talking about the Orlando Magic today. We got some things to talk about with this Orlando Magic team.
Yeah, I mean, they have two of the best young players in the league.
Two top 100 players in the league.
Two top 100 players in the league.
And controversial to say the least.
Huh?
Controversial to say the least.
Yeah, just a little
bit.
In Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they went 34-48 last year. They finished just outside of the play-in race, but this is a team that's on the way up. At least in my opinion. I'll pick your brain to see where your head's at on them in a little bit. But they were in the bottom third in the league in offense and defense last year, but they ended the season strong. They went 7-8 in their final 15 games. They had the fifth best defense in the league over that stretch, which again it's a 15 game sample. And so take it for what it's worth, but that's about a fifth of the season, close to a fourth. And so it's a decent sized sample. And so they put it together a little bit down in that final stretch. Paolo Banchero was a lot more efficient than his final stat line indicated. He averaged about 21 a game on some pretty poor efficiency, at least from 3-point range. He was below 30%, but he picked it up over that final month or so to kind of help buoy his stats a little bit. I mean, I know there was a really, really, really bad stretch of 3-point shooting in there for him midseason, but he definitely improved in that department. Something that Orlando also improved in throughout the year. They were really good rebounding the basketball. I mean, the biggest issue with them was that they just couldn't make shots, and because they were towards the bottom of the league on 3-point shooting on open and wide open makes, which if you don't know, NBA.com and I think other statistical websites, they do tracking data on how open a player is, and open is considered with the closest defender being 4 to 6 feet away, and then wide open is 6+ feet away. And I think they finished 23rd or 24th in 3-point percentage on wide open attempts, and they were the third worst team on open attempts, or on open 3-point attempts. And so this is a team that just couldn't make shots. They were bottom third in true shooting percentage, effective field goal percentage. They didn't really take care of the ball that well offensively, and so it was kind of mired by those their offense was kind of mired by those struggles a little bit, as well as the inefficient basketball, really. But they still do have two of the best young players in the league in Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, who could take over a 3 to 4 minute stretch on really any given night. They're both, at least in Franz's case, good defensively. I think Paolo showed improvements in that area at the end of the season, and I think that's one of the reasons why they were top 5 in defense. But where's your kind of head at with them, with how they finished last season versus what you're expecting heading into this season?
Okay, so I'm expecting a little bit of improvement for this Orlando Magic team. I don't take a lot of those ESPN lists or any of those top 100 players lists at face. I don't take those at face value, and obviously, being a big basketball guy, I assume you wouldn't do the same. But I won't go as a link to what Patrick Beverley was going on about, even though I can understand his reasoning. Obviously, people love to blow things out of proportion when he was talking about why is this team so bad if you got two top 100 players on your team. Or I think it was even top 50, something like that. It was a lot of these guys, both Franz and Paolo, were higher than a lot of really still really good players. But nevertheless, the Magic, they got a lot of interesting and good young pieces. It's crazy to think that you got a 6'10" forward in Paolo that can move with the ball. He can he was creating his own shot. He was able to get to the basket. He's able to move well with the ball. Wagner is a 6'9" point forward, And he's like, yeah, he had glimpses of that, and I'm like, that's absolutely insane. Wendell Carter, shout out to Wendell Carter. He's been really good for those Magic teams ever since he got there from the Bulls. So with this team, I anticipate them to at least be on a little bit of an improvement. I would say as of right now, I can see their ceiling being getting over the hump to get into the play-in and actually play in the playing games this upcoming season. I think Paolo is going to be anticipating to take even more of a leap, and I think Wagner's has like the best potential out of the bunch to be like a 22 point per game scorer. He was averaging like 19 over the course of last season, so I can see both those guys leading that team in scoring. But yeah, besides that, and Wendell Carter, you got Jonathan Isaac, 6'11" guy, lanky, who can. I know your boy from the fantasy draft.
No.
But
no.
It's been a rough go for him. That sucks. You got the veteran leadership in Joe Ingles, and then you got they just got like a lot of young guys. You got Gary Harris, who's going into his 9th year though. Markelle Fultz, I think, coming back from injury. So like they have a lot of interesting pieces around those two. So it's gonna be really intriguing to see how the season's gonna play out for them. But I can see themselves steadily improving. I don't think this team's there yet, but you do have the building blocks to make Orlando pretty much make Orlando I wouldn't even look just a place of relevancy once again, and not just kind of like just buying by the wayside. So they got a couple of top players to build around for the future. And it's just pretty much just still going through the motions during the rebuild.
A couple of young guys that you mentioned that I didn't mention before was Wendell Carter Jr., Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz actually had the healthiest season of his career last year. And I mean, that's also like that. I mean, previously that was a little bit of a lower bar because I mean he's dealt with injuries throughout his young career already. But 14-4, 6 assists, 1.5 steals. He shot 54% or 51% from the field, was just a hair over 30% from deep. He showed steady improvements, at least offensively, kind of as like a creator and an initiator offensively. And then Wendell Carter Jr., who just continues to get better. He was involved in the Nikola Vucevic trade a couple deadlines ago. He was kind of like that young piece that Chicago sent off. He's just nothing but improved, averaged a near double-double, 15 and 9 last year. He's not, I mean, he's still figuring out his game on the defensive end, but he's not a bad defender. And he's just another guy, like he's 23, 24, and he's just continuing to improve. And that's something like I'm expecting him to take just yet another step this year. And he's kind of that guy there, at least in the front court, alongside Banchero, alongside Wagner, who, as we previously talked about, are two of the best young players in the league. Cole Anthony just signed an extension, 3 years for $39 million. I think it was either yesterday or 2 days ago. He signed the extension. The deadline for rookie extensions is October 23rd today. Actually, no, it might have been today that he signed it. I'm losing track of time.
That probably sounds about right. But yeah, there was a lot of contracts that were signed today.
Yeah, a lot of contracts that were signed. Today's the deadline for that. So that's probably why you're seeing all these. That's probably why I'm just losing my mind. Jalen Suggs, I mean, he's kind of had an uneven first couple of years in the league. Gary Harris was just a steadying presence at guard. Mo Wagner, I think, who's done a pretty solid job backing up Wendell Carter, that's Franz's brother. It's like they have a good young core, at least with Banchero, Franz, Wendell Carter, and Markelle Fultz with Cole Anthony. And then they only got they had 2 top 11 picks, 2 top 12 picks. This last draft, they drafted Anthony Black, number 6, who
the guy with the hair.
Fan out of Anthony Black. What?
The guy with the hair.
Yeah. I was a huge fan out of Anthony Black coming out of Arkansas. He's just an incredibly smart basketball player. The shot is still coming along, so it makes the fit, I guess, a little murky from like, okay, you're joining a team who also just doesn't have enough polished shooters yet. But he's an incredibly smart player. He's a very good rebounder. He's a freaking pest at the point of attack. He's 6'7". He knows how to run the floor. He knows he's a good decision maker. And so they drafted him number 6. And then they got Jet Howard, which was a little bit of a controversial pick because they passed on Jordan Hawkins, they passed on Grady Dick, but who were two of the best, I guess, other shooters in the draft. But Jet Howard, Juwan Howard's son out of Michigan, they drafted him, and he was kind of like drafted to be that shooter, at least that next not up and coming shooter, but like the next shooter or like one of their best shooters on their team. Like that's pretty much why he was drafted, was just for that shooting. But like they have solid shooters with Franz, they have solid shooters with Harris. It just wasn't enough last year, and I'm just interested to see if there's some shooting regression with like the open 3-point numbers, as well as improvements from Banchero, potential improvements from like maybe like Cole Anthony or I mean Cole Anthony's not a terrible 3-point shooter, but like Cole Anthony, maybe like Jalen Suggs or something like that. I don't know. But like maybe there's some improvements there. Maybe you get something, maybe you get like a low 30s 3-point percentage out of Anthony Black, and you if Jet Howard cracks the rotation, you're able to get a solid percentage out of him. But like it's just taking the shots and making the shots, they struggled with last year, and that thus affects their spacing. And so I think they'll have improvements and some positive regression this upcoming season, but that's just, I guess, being a little bit optimistic with that.
Yeah, because obviously, I remember you alluded to this the other day. It's like no matter how good your team may be or how optimistic you may be about a lot of these teams, there's going to be teams that may have high hopes, but there's going to be teams that have to lose a bunch of games.
Yeah.
So it's been like teams like the Wizards, the Magic, and a lot of those guys right now. But just because you're going to lose a bunch of games this season doesn't mean you don't have to be competitive, and you don't have to you're pretty much, it's a building block season. But something I would speak on is just the guard play for Orlando. I feel like you have three quality guards in Cole Anthony, Fultz, and then at a time Jalen Suggs. Obviously, like we alluded to earlier, hasn't had the best go of it in his first 2 years. So I'm honestly thinking, like how much of a leash you're gonna keep giving him, because I've been looking at that Orlando team thinking that they're gonna have to move off of one of them to allow like the other two to flourish, because like you look at Cole Anthony, he had himself before last season he was averaging like 16 points a game. I think he has the ability to be a quality scorer, but I think Orlando and drafting Suggs while you already had Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz on the roster, I feel like I don't know how good of a fit that would have been, or that has been, but just looking to move one of those three to let the other two guys pretty much being an addition by subtraction. Just my 2 cents from it, and honestly, I think Suggs is kind of playing as the odd man out, even though it might his stock might be at pretty much the guy's pretty low at the moment, but again, he's still young, so like I still think he can make himself into a pretty good player. I just don't know if it's going to be in Orlando.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think he at least obviously with this Cole Anthony extension, as well as the year that Markelle Fultz had, kind of establishing himself as that primary lead guard. It looks like he's the odd man out. Also, they just drafted Anthony Black, so again, that's you have 3 guards, and then Jalen Suggs. I mean, Jalen Suggs isn't a bad player. You can still play Jalen Suggs next to one of those guys, depending on the other 3 that you have out there in terms of like the spacing and stuff like that. But it does feel like he's the odd man out, and it does feel like they're going to have to move off of him. I mean, once February comes, I still think they can move off of Cole Anthony if they want to. If they want to sell on him, they could move off of Markelle Fultz. I'm not super sure what his contract situations look like. I can look that up here, but they do have some options to work with. Also interesting that we didn't know, they also signed Joe Ingles to a 2-year, $22 million deal, which I thought was interesting because I mean, he's kind of like that. He can be like a veteran presence to both Paolo and Franz. But I just didn't expect him to get $22 million from Orlando, or really $22 million from any team. Maybe a team with cap space. I think Orlando had cap space, but it just didn't feel like he was going to get $22 million at this stage of his career. But hey, I'm not going to hate on it. Go get your bag, Joe.
Absolutely.
But that there's a little bit of a logjam there. Like I don't know if Ingles cracks the rotation. Because I mean Jonathan Isaac is back. He's played like 45 games in 4 years, which isn't great. I mean, obviously due to injury, but it's still like it's not ideal for someone of his lankiness and his size. And he's also on a partially guaranteed deal. I looked at this earlier before we logged on. I think like $7.5 million, or roughly $7.5 million, is guaranteed this year. And then I think this year's salary number, which is 17.4 million, becomes fully guaranteed on January 10th, I believe. But his contract next year is also non-guaranteed, so they might just there's avenues to part ways with them and kind of save cap if you want to, or like save money. Just by looking at it right here, it looks like Fultz is on an expiring deal, 17 million. Gary Harris is also on an expiring deal for 13 million. And so if you want to sell high on Markelle Fultz, and some teams are willing to take him, that's certainly an option. I don't know if that's the first option, but it is an option. Jalen Suggs still has 2 years left on his deal. He'll be extension eligible next offseason because of like the rookie scale stuff. So yeah, those are like just a couple of the guys. Again, they just signed Cole Anthony to a 3-year extension, which will kick in next year. Or like at least the first year kicks in next year. If a team, I mean, again, nowadays, 3 for 39 or whatever it was isn't expensive, really. Like it's not, just based on how much the cap is moving every year and stuff like that. But like if a team is willing to take that on and add Cole Anthony as like another like explosive guard off the bench or whatnot, kind of like what Orlando's doing with them now, then that's certainly an option. But I do think Jalen Suggs will ultimately have he's ultimately the odd man out because he has 1 more year left on his deal after this year, and that's his rookie deal. He will be a restricted free agent in 2 seasons, and so a team could, a team could probably get him for cheap on the restricted free agent market, or at least the team that would acquire him could re-sign him for pretty cheap on the restricted free agent market. But I guess my next question is, I know I'm talking a lot right now. Where do you see this team by the end of the season? Like, do you think they like win total? Do you think they make the play? And do you think they make the playoffs? Like, where's your kind of head
at? Let's see. They finished 34 and 48. I could see with another year.
Improvement of 12 wins, by the way. They won like 22 games 2 years ago. So that's a steady improvement.
Yeah.
From year 1 to year 2 of Jamal Mosley.
Yeah, so I honestly believe that they can probably get close, probably above, like maybe, let's say, because like the Eastern Conference for like the play-in teams, it would usually, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like the Bulls were 40 and 42, and the Raptors were 41 and 41. I honestly think they will probably get a little around like 38 to 40 wins if on like the best of seasons form at the moment. I can honestly see them, like, I do anticipate them fighting for a play-in spot, but I do think this team is going to be competitive all season long. It's going to be like one of those, they're full of young guys, full of hungry guys that want to get better. I feel like Paolo's going to take another step, and Wagner's going to take himself, going to have a leap of his own. So it's going to be real interesting, but it's probably more of the optimism talking for me, but I do see Orlando fighting for a play-in spot and returning to the playoffs at some point.
I have him as the 9 seed, at least by the end of the regular season, which obviously put them in that play-in chase. But I do think this team's a play-in team. Like, I think, again, it's just you're banking on stuff with, like, you're banking on health. Hopefully, Fultz stays healthy. Hopefully, Isaac stays healthy. And obviously, you want Banchero and you want Franz Wagner to stay healthy. You're banking on shooting progression. If Banchero could pick up right where he left off, he was around like 40% towards the end of the season, like in terms of like over a stretch of games from 3. And so like if he picks up right where he left off, or at least close to where he left off, then you're obviously in a good spot. If Wagner can knock down 40% of his 3-point shots, kind of similar to what he did last year, you're in a good spot, like, or at least you're in a better spot as a team. And then obviously you want to see improvements from the guys that I previously mentioned, like Markel Fultz. You're not going to really get many threes from Wendell Carter, but if you make threes and if you take threes, it opens up everything else. It opens up a little bit more gaps. It opens up more passing lanes for cutters and rollers and stuff like that. And so having your spacing grow, or like helping your spacing out, in turn helps your offense out. And that's where I think they can move up to potentially league average offense, or at least close to it. There's still some work to go, obviously. I mean, I'm just interested also to just see how they implement these rookies. But I think at least health and shooting progression, and at least, and again, where they picked up defensively, like if they're not going to be a top 5 defense for 82 games, but if they can be like a top 13, 14, 15 defense, I think it obviously helps their chances in making a play-in spot or even a playoff spot.
Yep. Long story short, Orlando's a team on the rise. It may not be this season, may not be next season, but these guys are steadily getting better.
For Magic fans, you would hope it's this season.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it's like you're rushing anything, but you just want to see continued improvement from kind of this core, which nothing has believed. Nothing. There's been nothing to not believe that. I'm trying to find like a way to phrase it. Like there's nothing that's been shown yet suggesting that we shouldn't believe that there'll be continued improvement, at least from like Banchero.
Yeah, as long as the team remains competitive, I feel like that's like the best thing they can hope for.
Yeah. This will be a competitive team. This will be kind of like a feisty team with Brooklyn, with Indiana, et cetera, et cetera. This is going to be a competitive team. But thank you all for watching. I talked a lot this episode. I should probably shut up.
They love talking about basketball.
Final thoughts?
I didn't realize a Heat fan loved talking about the Orlando Magic so much.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. Whatever.
Hey, it's not far, like you said. It's not that far of a drive, right? Well, close enough.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's like I think it's actually like my Orlando to Miami is like probably 4 or 5 hours. Actually, I don't know, but I do know. So I do have a family friend that lives in Orlando. Anyway, thank y'all for again. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'll just say anticipate, or I'm expecting the leap from the duo Wagner and Banchero, and making Orlando at least trying to in the next couple of years not be the little brother to the other team out in Florida.
Oh, that's not going to change, dude. I mean, Miami could go like 20-62, and Orlando could win 50 games, and they'd still be the little brother. Like, come on, let's be real.
Oh, hey, man, you never know.
The franchise history speaks for itself right now.
Yeah,
that can change over a span of 20 or 30 years. Knock on wood that I hope it doesn't change, but regardless. And I mean, Heat fans don't hate the Magic. It's more of the other way around. I don't care about the Magic that much. Partly because I don't live in Florida, but I've never but they would still be, I guess, the little brother.
You just got to win a couple of championships.
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
But yeah, thank y'all for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please go check out vendettasportsmedia.com. We're uploading our series previews on YouTube. Obviously, we have our written previews on the site. Please go check both those things out, as well as the other content. Major League Baseball playoffs are going on right now. NFL seasons, we're in week like 8, I think. We're gonna have week 8. College football is in the thick and thin of things. NHL just started. Please go check all that content out. I know James is posting like a shit ton of really good UFC stuff, which he always does. Which is great.
James.
Yeah, shout out James. So please go check all that stuff out. Like and subscribe. Tell me why I'm an idiot in the comments, or tell me why I'm annoying in the comments. Nothing I haven't heard before. Thank y'all for watching. See you guys next time.